She smirked while signing for the new car. Thanks, now I don't need you anymore. I just nodded, but weeks later, when the repo truck pulled into her driveway, her face went pale. There are moments in your life that are crystal clear, like a photograph. For me, that moment is my ex-girlfriend Lauren, sitting in the finance manager's office at a car dealership, signing a piece of paper. The air smelled like cheap coffee and air freshener. She looked up at me, the pen still in her hand, and a little smirk played on her lips. Thanks, she said, her voice a little too loud, a little too triumphant. Now I don't need you anymore. The finance guy, a tired-looking man named Stan, just kept his head down, pretending he didn't hear. But I heard it. It was like a bell ringing in a quiet room. It was the sound of my 2-year relationship ending. I didn't say anything. I just nodded, a slow, deliberate motion. I think she expected me to be hurt, to argue. But in that second, all the hurt I might have felt was burned away by a cold, hard clarity. I wasn't a boyfriend to her. I was a tool, a key, and I had just unlocked the last door she needed me to open. Let me back up. Lauren's life was a constant series of small crises. Her biggest and most consistent problem was her car. It was an old clunker that was always breaking down, always costing her money she didn't have. For months, it was all I heard about. How she was late to work again because the car wouldn't start. How she missed a friend's party because she was scared to drive it on the highway. How all her problems would be solved if she just had a reliable car. The problem was, her credit was shot. Years of bad decisions and an attitude that bills were optional suggestions had left her with a score that made lenders laugh. I, on the other hand, have always been careful with my money. My credit is excellent. She brought up the idea of me co-signing for a car about 3 months ago. At first, I was hesitant. I know that co-signing is a huge risk. But she was relentless. She cried. She told me I was the only one who could help her, that this one thing would let her finally get her life on track. She said it would make our lives better, that she'd be less stressed, and we could finally start moving forward. Like a fool, I started to believe her. I thought, maybe she's right. Maybe this is the leg up she needs. I loved her, and I wanted her to be happy. So I agreed, but with one very specific condition. I told her, I will co-sign for the loan, and my name will be on it, but the car will be in your name. You will be responsible for making the payments. You'll transfer the payment amount to me 5 days before it's due each month, and I'll make the payment to the bank from my account. That way, I can be sure it's paid on time and my credit is protected. She agreed instantly. Of course, I would never mess up your credit. This is my responsibility. So we spent a few weekends car shopping. She didn't want a sensible used sedan. She wanted a brand new top-of-the-line SUV, white with the panoramic sunroof and all the bells and whistles. It was way more car than she needed, and the monthly payment was going to be steep. I tried to steer her towards something more reasonable, but she threw a fit right in the middle of a showroom, accusing me of not wanting her to have nice things. So I gave in. Mistake number 2. Which brings us back to that moment in the finance office. We found the exact SUV she wanted. My credit score worked its magic, and the loan was approved in minutes. They put the paperwork in front of us. I signed first, as the co-signer. Then she signed, and as the ink was drying on her signature, she looked at me and delivered that line. Thanks, now I don't need you anymore. It was the smirk that did it. The look of pure smug victory on her face. In that instant, I saw the whole picture. The sob stories, the pressure, the tantrum in the showroom. It was all a long con. The goal was never to improve our lives. The goal was to get this car. And I was just the final obstacle. I just nodded. I stood up, pushed my chair in, and walked out of the office. Stan, the finance guy, called after me. Sir, we just need you for one more signature. I kept walking. I heard Lauren say, don't worry, he's just being dramatic. I walked out of the dealership, got into my own car, and drove away. She had the keys to her new SUV. She could figure out how to get it home. My phone started buzzing a few minutes later. It was her. I let it go to voicemail. The message was angry. Where did you go? I'm stuck here. Are you seriously gonna ruin this for me? I didn't respond. I drove straight home to my apartment, the one we shared. I walked in, and the first thing I did was go to the bedroom and pack a bag. All my clothes, my toiletries, my laptop. I wasn't going to stay there another night. But I also wasn't going to just leave. The apartment lease was in my name. She was just listed as an occupant. When she finally got home a few hours later, driving her shiny new car, she was furious. She stormed in, ready for a fight. "What is wrong with you? You abandoned me. You almost messed up the whole deal." I was sitting on the couch, my bag at my feet. I just looked at her. "I heard what you said in the office, Lauren." Her anger faltered for a second. "I was just joking. It was a joke. You're being way too sensitive." "No," I said, standing up. "You weren't joking. You were telling the truth. You finally got what you wanted. So congratulations." I picked up my bag. "I'm gonna stay at my parents' place for a few days. You have 30 days to get your things and get out of my apartment. I'll be sending you a formal notice." The color drained from her face. This wasn't part of her plan. "What? You're breaking up with me? Over a joke? And you're kicking me out?" "I'm not breaking up with you," I said, walking to the door. "You already did that in the dealership. You just forgot to tell me. Now you have the car you always wanted. A fresh start. You just need a new place to park it." I walked out and closed the door behind me. I could hear her start to scream, but I just kept walking. The plan was already forming in my head. A cold, simple, logical plan. The bank might think I was on the hook for that car loan, but I was about to make it very, very clear who was truly responsible. Update 1. It's been a little over a month now. The 30-day notice I gave Lauren to vacate my apartment expired last week. It's been a masterclass in entitlement, denial, and just plain stupidity. After I left that first night, the texts and calls were nonstop. First it was anger. Then came the fake apologies and the classic, "I didn't mean it, I was just excited." When that didn't work, she pivoted to trying to make me feel guilty. "You're throwing away 2 years over one comment." I didn't respond to any of it. I blocked her number. Of course, that just meant the messages started coming from her friends and family. Her mom called me and told me I was being cruel and heartless. "Lauren loves that apartment," she said, "and she needs a stable place to live now that she has that big car payment." The irony was completely lost on her. I just politely told her that the lease was in my name and the decision was final. As I expected, Lauren ignored the 30-day notice. She really thought I wouldn't go through with it. On day 31, I had my lawyer, who I hired the day after the dealership incident, file for a formal eviction. The legal process is slow, but it's final. But the real drama, the part I've been patiently waiting for, has been with the car. Lauren has been living her best life, at least on social media. Her feed is nothing but pictures of the new SUV. The SUV at the beach, the SUV in front of expensive restaurants, her and her friends on a road trip in the SUV. She even gave it a name, Pearl. She was trying so hard to project this image of a successful, independent woman who had it all. The car wasn't just a car, it was her whole identity. What she didn't know was that a storm was brewing. The first payment for the car was due on the 15th of last month. As per our original, now broken agreement, she was supposed to transfer the money to me 5 days before that. Of course, the 10th came and went, and no money appeared in my account. I wasn't surprised. On the 15th, I got an automated notification from the bank. "Your auto loan payment of $580 is due today." I read it, and then I deleted it. I did not make the payment. A few days later, the calls started. First to my phone. It was the bank's collections department. I answered. The guy on the phone was polite but firm. "Mr. Thompson, we're calling about your auto loan, which is now past due." I was just as polite. "I understand," I said calmly. "I am the co-signer on that loan. The primary user of the vehicle is my ex-girlfriend, Lauren Peterson. The car is in her possession. The verbal agreement was that she would be making all payments. She has not done so. You'll need to contact her for the payment." There was a pause. "Sir, as the co-signer, you are equally responsible for the debt." "I am fully aware of my legal obligation," I said. "I am also aware that your primary course of action should be to collect from the person who has the asset. I have provided you with her name. All her contact information is on the loan application. I will not be making this payment." I knew this would hurt my credit. I had already run the numbers. It would be a temporary hit, maybe 50 or 60 points. It sucks. But it's a price I was willing to pay to get out of a 5-year $35,000 loan for a woman who despised me. My credit is strong enough to absorb the hit and recover. Hers is not. A few days later, I got a furious text from a number I didn't recognize. It was Lauren. Why is the bank calling me non-stop? They say the car payment is late. You were supposed to pay it. You're gonna ruin my credit. I just replied with a screenshot of her comment on a recent photo of her car. Someone had asked, "How do you afford such a nice ride?" And she had replied, "Hard work and being my own boss, babe." Under the screenshot, I just wrote one sentence. Hard work includes paying your bills. This is your responsibility now. Don't contact me again. I blocked the new number. Now the loan is over 30 days past due. The late fees are piling up. The bank is calling her constantly. I know this because her mother called me again, this time screaming, "You are a monster. You are doing this just to hurt her." Her credit is being destroyed. She has a very simple solution, I told her calmly. She can pay the bill, or she can return the car to the dealership. But she wants to keep the car and have me pay for it, and that's not going to happen. She told me she didn't need me anymore. That means she doesn't need my money or my credit score either. She's trapped. She can't afford the payment. She won't give up the car, and every day that passes, the consequences get worse. The bank has already sent the first official warning letter. The next one will mention repossession. I'm just waiting. Final update. It's been 3 months. I am officially a free man. The saga with Lauren and her precious SUV has finally come to a spectacular and very public end. After my last update, things escalated quickly. The loan became 60 days past due. The bank was no longer making polite phone calls. They were sending certified letters to her and to me. The letters clearly stated that if the full past due amount was not paid immediately, they would initiate repossession of the vehicle. I, of course, continued to do nothing. I forwarded my copy of the letter to my lawyer just to keep him in the loop. Lauren, on the other hand, was apparently having a complete meltdown. The eviction from my apartment was finalized. She had to move back in with her parents. Her mom had to co-sign for a storage unit for all the furniture she had bought to fill my place. The independent boss babe lifestyle she was projecting on social media was a complete fantasy. In reality, she was broke, living with her mommy and daddy and about to lose the one thing she thought was her ticket to a better life. She tried a few more desperate moves. She had a lawyer, probably some guy her dad paid for, send a letter to my lawyer demanding that I either start making the car payments or give her $10,000 for damages and to take over the loan herself. My lawyer's response was a single page. It included a copy of the loan agreement showing her as the primary borrower and a polite suggestion that her client's time would be better spent selling the vehicle to pay off the loan before it was repossessed. Then came the day I had been waiting for. I knew she was now living at her parents' suburban house. Last Saturday, my buddy Dave, who lives a few towns over, texted me, "Dude, you are not going to believe this. I'm at a barbecue at my buddy's house and it's right across the street from Lauren's parents' place. And a tow truck just pulled up." He sent me a picture. It wasn't a normal tow truck. It was a flatbed from a vehicle recovery company, a repo truck. Dave started giving me a play-by-play via text. The repo man walked up to the house and knocked on the door. Lauren's dad answered. There was a heated conversation on the front porch. A few minutes later, Lauren came out. Dave's text. She is losing her mind, yelling at the guy. Then, her mom is out there now too, crying. The repo man was a pro. He wasn't arguing. He just stood there with his clipboard, occasionally pointing at the white SUV parked in their driveway. Finally, the best part. Dave's text. OMG. She just looked down the street and she saw us watching from the backyard. Her face, dude. She knows people are seeing this. The public humiliation was the final nail in the coffin. She couldn't spin this. She couldn't lie her way out of it. There, in the bright Saturday afternoon sun, in front of her neighbors and a backyard full of strangers, her prized possession, her symbol of independence, was being hooked up to be taken away. Her face, Dave said, went from red with anger to completely white with shock and shame. The repo man loaded the SUV onto the flatbed, secured it, and drove away. Just like that, Pearl was gone. The phone call came about an hour later. It was Lauren from a blocked number. She wasn't yelling this time. She was sobbing, a broken, defeated sound. They took it, she wept. They took my car. I didn't say anything for a long moment. Then I said, I know. You did this, she accused, her voice thick with tears. You could have stopped it. You ruined my life. No, Lauren, I said, and my voice was completely calm. I didn't do this. You did. You did this in the finance manager's office when you looked me in the eye and told me you didn't need me anymore. I just decided to believe you. You wanted to be independent. This is what independence looks like. It means paying for your own things. She started to say something else, but I cut her off. You're right about one thing, though. You don't need me anymore. And now, I don't have a $35,000 loan connecting me to you. So I don't need you either. We're finally done. I hung up the phone and blocked the number. The fallout has been immense for her. She's now on the hook for the difference between what the car sells for at auction and the remaining loan balance, which will be thousands of dollars. Her credit is so completely destroyed, it will take her the better part of a decade to fix it, if she ever does. She has no car, a mountain of debt, and she's living in her childhood bedroom. My credit took the hit I expected, but it's already starting to recover. It was a calculated cost. A few $100s in consulting fees with my lawyer and a temporary dip on my credit report was the price I paid to surgically remove a financial and emotional cancer from my life. It's the best deal I ever made. She thought the car was her finish line. She didn't realize it was tied to a starting gun that would blow up in her face. She got her independence, and it left her with absolutely nothing. And I'm finally free.